Welcome to Guns 101, our video welcome for new gun owners. It's brought to you by the Self-Defense Radio Network. I'm Rob Morse from Self-Defense Gun Stories. My partners are Amanda Suffolcool from Eye on the Target Radio. The guy doing that heavy technical lifting behind the curtain, that's Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. We're lucky to have Beth Alcazar with us. She's the associate editor and senior training counselor at the USCCA. She's also, did I forget to mention, the author at the Pacifiers and Peacemakers blog and of the book, Woman's Handgun and Self-Defense. All right, Beth, this isn't such a big deal for me, but it matters what you wear to the range, particularly for women. You don't want to get hurt, and sometimes you can. Talk to me about that. Yeah. It's not as obvious as it appears.
Yeah, this is actually a really fantastic subject, Rob. And you're right. Women kind of struggle with that a little bit more. And again, it's because we have a lot more clothing options and a lot more things that maybe we would like to wear depending on the weather, especially here in hot, humid Alabama. You're going to want to wear shorts and probably sleeveless tops. You're going to want to try to do as much as possible, unless you stay in the air conditioning like me. You got to try to stay cool. But obviously, the most important thing that anyone should have with training, whether they are at the range, whether they're, doing a competitive shooting, anything that involves the actual shooting sport or shooting activity, is you want good eye and ear protection. So that's going to be kind of a given. But beyond that, we're going to talk specific clothing items, a shirt, what maybe pants, shoes, things like that. So let's talk shirts first. Let's just start right here at the top. Women need to be really, really careful. We have a lot of shirts that kind of have a lower neckline. And all that does is invite really hot brass to jump in there and give you a shock. And it's happened probably to most of the women I know. And we have to end up doing the hot brass dance, which involves, a little shake and a little wiggle to try to get that hot item out. So that is not it's not very fun. So I highly recommend that using a shirt that gives you coverage. You don't have to wear a turtleneck, but you do need to make sure that your neck area has something that's not wide open or loose so that you're not catching brass down there all day long. It is no fun. Let's
go past the no fun to the safety aspect of it. Because what happens is that there's an immediate shock, and it is hot enough that it will actually raise a welt. It'll be a second degree burn potentially. I mean, it's extremely hot. And what's happening is you've got a loaded firearm in your hand at the same time you get this shock. And so your instinctive actions are to get this off of you or out of your shirt or away from you. And so your control of the firearm and its muzzle is in jeopardy. And so your clothing and your clothing selection could have a huge impact on the safe handling of a gun at the range.
Oh, that is absolutely true. And I've seen both things happen where somebody has very gracefully and safely managed hot brass, where they've actually set that live firearm down and been able to manage the situation. But I've also seen something on the other end of the spectrum where someone does get very frightened, and it hurts very badly. It can, especially if it gets stuck in there. And women, we have usually that extra piece of clothing underneath that likes to hold hot brass. So be very, very aware that you don't want to be in pain. If you can avoid that, and you certainly don't want to cause an unsafe situation for yourself or anyone around you at that time. Right. So very important. Also, keep in mind any dangly items. If we're talking about clothing, we might as well talk about jewelry. But if you have jewelry, bangles, bracelets, earrings, believe it or not, a lot of those things could potentially get caught or could cause an issue as you are manipulating that firearm. So if you can, maybe leave those home instead of wearing them to the range, because you don't want to cause a malfunction or any other unsafe scenario because of a really cute watch that you have or this really awesome necklace that you just got. So keep that in mind. I also like to tell our ladies to take their hair back I've got really long hair. It can get in the way.
You're right. And dangly earrings, the thing that those will do is they will actually impede the seal of if you're wearing headset muffs. And so they're kind of there. And so you're not getting the seal, you're not getting the hearing protection that you would have expected, and or it's diving or driving part of the earring into your head, which is, once again, not real comfortable.
Yeah. And besides, pulling your long hair back, it's good to wear a hat, because I have had hot brass dancing all over my head before. And even with eye protection on, and even with a hat, I had a piece of brass jump over and land on top of my eye protection, right next to my eye, right under my eyebrow. And it just sat there and just burned and burned and burned. And that was definitely not fun. And that hat pulled down with a nice broad rim or bill can usually, not always, but usually keep that from happening. So beyond those things, don't forget about shoes either. A lot of, again, here in Alabama, we're hot. It's very humid. We want to wear those flip-flops. Not a good idea to wear those to the range. Anything open-toed or anything that exposes your feet, you're asking for those burns on your feet. And that hurts just as much as any other place that we've already described. So try to wear some comfortable shoes, the closed-toed shoes, but also think about shoes that are going to give you enough traction for movement. You don't want to slip and fall, especially with a firearm in your hand. And I've seen that happen as well. Ultimately, though, just thinking about this, I would love to see people practice the way they dress. I think that's a really awesome concept. I've actually done it before, and I've helped others do it. But if you are new to firearms and this is a world that you are just entering, please go the safe route with eye and ear protection. Put on that hat. Make sure the shirt's going to cover as much skin, even a longer sleeve if you want to protect your arm and your hands as well. And make sure you have on good shoes for now. Maybe you can graduate later on to going out to the range in your, your 3-piece suit or your gown, your ball gown, and your pumps, whatever, but we'll save that for another day.
I'll tell you, I have seen that though for women who wear business dress and practice at the range, because that's how they dress. But you have to work to it, and then you work through it. Yeah. Okay, well, Beth Alcazar, that is a great topic, and for the guys, it's like, okay, don't wear sandals. We're good.
Well, no, okay. Any guy who's out on the range long enough, he's going to do the brass dance too.
Sure.
We just don't have to do it quite as often.
And button up your shirt a little further. I mean, that's really
that helps.
Where that is. So this was brought to you by Beth Alcazar, Senior Training Counselor from USCCA. She's always got such good information. Look her up. Check out this book that she's written. I mean, it's just chock full of information. But we'll talk about that in another video.